Go time. Okay, calling the meeting to order at 6:01. Okay, first agenda item on the docket is the election of chair and vice chair. Oh, I forgot my microphone. There we go. Hi, you're sitting up here today.
Amazing.
So I would like to make a recommendation that Matt, lawyer, it is now time, I think, for you to be the chair. So I'd like to recommend Matt. And I'd like to recommend Lisa Sajeka as the vice chair, or the co-chair.
Vice chair.
Vice chair, sorry.
I like
Thank you.
vice better than co.
I second.
So I have a motion and a second. Can I motion. I can make a recommendation.
You can do whatever you
Correct. Okay.
Is that I motion to make Matt Boyer chair and Lisa Sajeka vice chair.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table by
I'll
Gwen.
second it.
We have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none?
Matt, are you qualified?
Oh,
Maybe.
what, 8 years of experience on Parks Board?
You know,
Alone?
I will say, Madam Chair, in my 8 years, I've had two chairs on this board. David Loudon, who led us through probably some of the most complicated things this board's ever dealt with. And the last few years, you've done absolutely incredible. And it's humbling. I appreciate this opportunity and looking forward to it.
Sweet. With that being said, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Perfect. Come on over.
I should just let you run the rest of the meeting.
Yes, I am. Why not?
All right.
This purse doesn't match your shoes.
It does
Oh,
not.
it doesn't. I'm so sorry. I should have brought a black shirt first for you. No, okay.
All right.
I'd be interested to see just for the gavel.
It's not as much fun as you think. Actually, remembering when to do it and when not to do it is
Probably would not.
I think my first year as the chair on the planning commission, I overutilized the gavel a lot. All right, well, thank you. This is exciting. I'm gonna state categorically, I think I wanna do this once. Because I don't know what the volunteer coordinating committee will do with me in December, so there we go. Excuse me. All right, so we have agenda item number 3, which is a consideration of the December 2023 minutes. Everybody had an opportunity to review those. If there's any recommendations for changes, please state that. Otherwise, I take a recommendation for approval as written.
Motion to approve?
I second it.
Got a motion to approve by Mike Panelon and a second by Lisa. Any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Motion passes unanimously with, what do we have, 2 absent, 3 absent? Katie, Clay, and David, right? Okay, appearance of interested citizens. Hi Peggy. How are you? Nothing to tell us tonight? Very happy to see you out in the audience tonight. For those on virtual land, Peggy Moore is with us. As always, she always visits the Parks Board and we're very happy to have her here tonight. All right, moving on, we have the strategic plan feedback is requested, and Councilor Kohler will be leading this discussion, and we have our city manager, Adam Brown, in the audience. Adam, will you be joining us this evening on this discussion? You're welcome to come up here. If you want to come sit at the dais, by all means, please do, or if you just want to stay where you're at, you're also welcome to do that. Councilor Kohler, go ahead and kick us off and tell us about all the wonderful things that are happening right now with the strategic plan.
Thank you, Chair Lawyer. Is that working?
Yes, sir. It's quiet.
Has anybody had opportunity to really look at this strategic plan? And a little bit, I hear. Okay. So some of the things we need to do is kind of look at it and say, is it saying what we want it to say? I've had some people say to me that this is a 5-year spending plan versus a strategic plan. So there's some of the things that are in here that we need to figure out. Is this the things we want to spend money on or the direction we need to go? One of the things that we need to look at is there's, there's kind of a, let's see, what page are we on here? Goals and processes, so, it says that they want to develop clear mission and 5-year vision.
Counselor, which page are you looking at on this one?
Well-
Eight, thank you. Sorry.
So, where, you have to bring your magnifying glass.
It's 8 in the center part of the
Right.
actual document, otherwise it's page 13 of 25 in the bottom right-hand corner. Or 29. Either way. Thank you.
So pride, spirit, and volunteerism has been kind of our standard in many ways. I don't really see that specifically in here, and I just wonder if you're feeling that that should be something that's included in this?
In terms of like, pride, spirit, and volunteerism is always kind of in the motto, right?
Correct.
Is that being recommended to not be included as part of the council motto anymore? I don't understand your question.
Well, do you feel that that should be part of this plan, that motto included in here? And one of the things that concerns me about this is that Keizer was put together basically with, let's do the least amount of government that we can and make it as cheap as we can for the people that live here. And if you look at the taxes in Keizer versus just about anywhere else in the state, we're right near the bottom as far as how much it costs to live here.
For a large city, right?
Yeah, and so I think one of the things that they're trying to do here is figure out, what do we want to do in the future? Do we want to continue to just be the cheapest that we can be, or do we need to look and see what else do we need to do? What does the populace want us to do? So as you review this, I hope you kind of take a look and say, yes, this is what I want to do, or, well, what is the cost for this? And am I willing to put the cost out to do that? There was, several years ago, we had opportunity, Mr. Lawyer and I, to sit on a Little League advisory committee. And we looked at it and said, well, how long can Little League continue with just volunteers? And are we going to eventually have to put a Parks and Recreation department together because the volunteers don't want to do it? The kids are dropped off by one parent and they say, see you later. It's almost like glorified babysitting. And they're not too willing to come and help do things to the field. And so I think if they, in fact, some of them did have an opportunity to pay extra so they didn't have to do maintenance on the field and do some of these other things. And so they were choosing at that point to say, you know what? I just want to bring my kid. I don't want to have to do anything. I don't want to coach. I don't want to have to do concessions. I don't want to have to do these other things. I want to make sure that I can just drop my kid off and go. I'll come to the games, but where, as a city, are we still at the point that we want to say, yes, we want volunteers, we want to run things as cheaply as we can, or do we need to come to the point where we say, we're willing to pay more money and have some people do stuff for us? And so to me, that's one of the things we need to figure out with this strategic plan. Does that make sense? Now, so to me, the mission statement of the original council was we want to do things as cheaply as we can, have as little government as we have to, and move forward. This is a little bit of a change for that. So I guess I'd like to get what your opinion is of that.
So I think as far as the Pride Spirit volunteerism, I think whether we spend more money or not, that I think there's room for that motto and for encouraging people to participate in our community. I think part of the vitality of a community is people being involved and not so checked out, which seems like it gets harder and harder all the time to maintain. That said, I think that there's also room to spend more money if people are willing to do that. And that's kind of, I mean, we've had some things that have been run past the populace that they have voted down because they don't want to spend more money. And so we're kind of beholden to them in that manner. But there's been some wonderful things like some funds for the parks that I think has really helped to enhance what we're doing, as far as that goes. And Keizer is kind of known for their parks at this point. And I think that that's a beautiful thing. And I think that there's always room for improvement too.
Thank you, Mike. Any other comments or thoughts about that?
Well, and I do want to point out, Councilor Kolar, I think on slide 6, it does specifically call out pride, spirit, and volunteerism in the very first sentence. And I think it's important that we retain that, and I think to sort of double up on what Mike was talking about, one of the concerns I think early on with, at least that those of us that were around doing the parks fee discussion, was that you're going to start paying everything and then volunteerism is going to go away. And I think the opposite is absolutely true. And we've been able to maintain a very high level of volunteerism. Gwen's been at a bunch of projects I've done. Bob has been at countless projects that have been done for volunteer basis. Councilor Kolar, you've been there. Robert's responded to countless emails when we've said, hey, we want to do something. And I'm mostly just asking for forgiveness rather than permission. And so we've maintained, if not grown, that level of opportunity to the degree that we actually increased our grant budget to bring that to our youth. And so I think pride, spirit, and volunteerism absolutely is, by my understanding, what Keizer's all about. And so I'm happy to see that it's still referenced here in this plan. And if there's any discussion whatsoever by anybody of taking that out of there, I think they're missing the point a little bit. That's just my personal opinion. But there's a lot in this plan. I mean, it's a lot of pages here. I think the survey kind of does an okay job of sort of kind of walking you through it, but the survey is very general in terms of what people can respond to. But that's a very appropriate place where folks need to go if they want to voice specific concerns in certain areas related to the city, but also to this plan. Would that be correctly stated?
I believe so, yes.
With regards to what Mike was saying, and to sort of double down on your comment, Councilor Kolar, when we did that Keizer Little League Task Force thing, at the time we were seeing 2 organizations that were struggling. And we sat in the big room over there, and I asked the question point blank, if you had to spend another $50 per year or $100 per year for your student athlete to come and play on these fields, but you never had to step foot again on the fields for volunteerism, would that be worth it? And 100% of the people, which was the majority of the people that responded, said absolutely. In fact, most of them even said we'd pay as much as $200 a month because then we can focus on actually watching our children play versus spending time volunteering. And I think that the way that people are choosing to spend their time has changed. People are working multiple jobs or working very long jobs, and they're choosing to make their time really focused on the things that they want to do, not that they have to do. And I think that's okay. That's just the way that things are going. But there's a tremendous amount of demand on financial resources across the board. Everything is compressed. It's one of the funniest things that came out of the holiday season was if you watch Home Alone and all the things that Kevin bought in Home Alone back in 1990, whatever, was like $23. That same basket of goodies now varied anywhere from like $79 to over $100, depending on where they did it across the country. That tells you a lot. Now that's just life, right? But it is very different now than what it was in 1992. And even more so than 1982, when $2.13 per thousand was actually pretty reasonable when they established Measure 5 and 50 back in 1990, what is it, 4, 5? So we're facing, this is not a unique situation across a lot of jurisdictions, but what I believe is that Keizer's going to do a really good job of reaching out and asking the questions about how these things are going to move forward. So that's just my opinion.
So I would like to first, before I go any further, commend everybody that's on this committee because they have stepped up, they have been involved, and they've been doing stuff. There's a lot of people that don't, and so we have to figure out how do we move forward. And so I think that I highly encourage Mr. Brown. How do people go to do the survey? Those people that are watching.
So they can go, if they go to our front page, on the top left corner, they'll see strategic plan. They click on that and scroll nearly to the bottom. They can download a copy of the plan and look at it. And then in that same page, there's a link to go to the survey where they can get feedback on anything that's in the plan. So, and just for context, there was, I think, around 740 residents that participated in the original survey, some of which may be sitting on the dais, and over, I think, around 30 one-on-one interviews with community leaders. And so that initial push is what created these groupings of goals that you find in there for safety and supportive services, transportation and mobility, economic development, engaged community growth, and strong and sustainable government. So they took all that data from all that input and tried to group it together to meaningful actions or goals. And then under that, the staff came together over a series of meetings and came up with actions to be able to accomplish those things. And that's really what we're looking for feedback at that point, is the right action. And I really believe you are the best positioned. We're kind of at the point where we've got all this feedback, and the people that are working on our committees and our council are the most knowledgeable, the people that are best going to be able to refine the action plans, because you know more than the general public. So look at it through your lens as a Parks Committee member and in any other hat you want to apply it to.
Adam, it says here on page 14, page 50 of the packet, that the council adopted this in December. Is that? I just want to clarify, because what's important to me is if that's the case, and the survey responses help to go further drill down on these particular goals and issues, is that the intent and the goal of these additional comments?
You're on page...
On phase 3 under review and adoption, the last sentence says the council adopted the strategic plan on December 18th, 2023.
Oh, no, that was the plan, and it just hasn't changed.
Okay,
so that was the plan, and the council actually on the 18th said, no, let's put it back out for more feedback.
Great.
So that's why it's in front of you, because the council asked for it to get more feedback on it. So I'll have them change that. It's a good comment.
Nope, no problem. I just didn't know. I just didn't want to miss a phase. I mean, I would encourage, as Mr. Brown and Councilor Kohler have said, take the time, read through this. You've got till the 19th, I think, to complete your input on this. Take the 26th. Take the time to look through this, provide meaningful comment. And frankly, if there's anything in here in particular that you don't quite understand what the nexus or the particular goal of that issue is, feel free to reach out to one of our counselors, any of the staff, I would assume probably via Adam, just to kind of do this. What I can tell you about strategic plans is they kind of set the stage for how organizations can look towards the future. And it's not a master plan in the sense of what we have seen through our parks master plans or other things like that, but it really kind of provides a framework, I think, for how the council is going to work, but how Adam's going to work and the rest of our leadership team within the city are going to do things. But it also sort of provides a North Star too, as councils change and things adopt. They can say, well, we really adopted, if you look over here, the 2023 long-term goals. these are often referenced during council meetings. We've referenced them multiple times here in this room, both on the Parks Board and other committees like that. So it's just an opportunity to kind of give you something to look back and say, yeah, this is actually something we've adopted as a city. We really want to keep as kind of our North Star. But, you know, Councilor Kohler has definitely expressed some concerns and some ideas on some of these things. And I would just encourage all of us to take the time to do the survey, do the research. And the more, I mean, would you say 700 people responded to the original one?
Actually, I was looking at there, 717 survey responders.
So I can tell you that statistically, they say 1% of your population is actually a really good response. So that's greater than 1%. It's a little, it's almost close to 2%. More would be great, right? So the more people respond to this, the better of a pulse that the council is going to get on this and Adam's going to get on it, which will give you a better opportunity to say, you know, gosh, we really thought we were going the right way in this direction, but maybe we need to relook at it based off of this things we're hearing from the survey. So this is the time, raise it or waive it. If you're not part of it, you're on the menu.
So can we look at page 22?
Yeah.
Talks about our goals and actions. So, like actions 1.1, increase public safety data sharing and reporting to community. So I'm not really sure how we do that. Is there some fees and such involved in that? Or, you know, it's just, we want to make sure that we do that. And then 1.2, complete camera installation on street posts and in parks. So some of the questions that people have asked me is on all the parks, and is that going to be recorded, and is somebody going to monitor those, or what are we going to use those for and how that's going to be used? And then the other thing that they've asked me is, how much is it going to cost? Do we have any idea how much that would cost and how we're going to pay for it? So those are the questions that I've been asked, and I guess I've asked you guys, how would you feel about that? Do you feel that it's important to have cameras in all the parks and in several different locations?
Yes.
Are we having a big issue with graffiti and vandalism and issues that we need to spend money on cameras right now? I know the whole world's turning into cameras.
Well, we have, and I think
It's a lot of money.
historically, I mean, Robert's come to us over the course of the last probably 18 months with, I don't think we've had a board meeting yet where you haven't brought up graffiti at parks.
Yeah, unfortunately, it's on my update today that we
I mean,
a lot more graffiti.
I'll point out how ridiculous this is. When Robert and I were checking out Wallace House for our project in October, the trees were spray painted. Like, I mean, it's everywhere.
It's
And
happened to Curly.
so particularly in some of the more populated parks, Keizer Rapids for sure at the bathrooms and some of those areas. I know that the council's taken this up, but I think that there's been a plan to purchase. I mean, I think this is already in motion. So it's kind of beyond, I don't think we ever actually even made a recommendation or took action here. It was something the council took up under Chief Teague and said, yep, this is something we need to do, because it is costing the Parks Department thousands of dollars a year to deal with. And I know the MAC has gone out and done it multiple times, but I mean, it's like, every week you're out there dealing with.
You think the
Sometimes it's just a
cameras
couple of
will
days.
just deter from stuff happening, or do we have the resources once we see someone on camera to do anything about it?
I don't have an answer to that. I think Chief Teague, who historically, in my opinion, was not favorable towards cameras, obviously had a change of heart because it got to be a big enough thing. And I think that they're the experts and they're the ones that said, we think we need to do this, right? Again, we didn't make any of that recommendation here. Go ahead, Adam.
Thanks, Chair. Councilor Kohler's right. It's not a done deal.
Okay.
We haven't dropped any money yet. We got a bid and it's pretty high, so we're looking at other alternatives. So, but my experience in another city in Oregon is wherever we put cameras up, and you don't only have to put the cameras up, you have to put placards around saying under video surveillance. So it's a deterrence theory. But wherever we put cameras up, the vandalism just gone. with a few exceptions where they just cut the cord on the camera and then destroyed the property afterwards. But it's not a done deal, so it's fair game for you to talk about, like Councilor Kohler was saying.
And how does Chief Copeland feel about cameras? Is he favorable to that?
So there's actually two aspects of it. There's one is the parks,
Right.
and that's because of the vandalism. The other part is directly for the benefit of the police detectives, and that is having cameras at every road that goes out of Keizer with license plate readers. Because when somebody commits an activity, robbery or burglary or something, they're gonna go out. And so it's just having those license plate reader cameras on, I think there's 11 roads that leave out of the city.
Right.
And they would have eyes on every one. There is a lot of artificial intelligence that you can leverage in the cameras now, where you could put triggers on parks cameras that say, if you see movement at between 1 a.m. and 5 a.m., notify the police officers, and they would get a ping. And they can even narrow it down to a person, if there's a person there between these hours and this spot. So it's pretty impressive about what they can do now and how much they can leverage. And what a word that I liked, another chief shared with me, that's called a force multiplier. So there's not somebody sitting there watching them all day. It may be up on a TV in a sergeant's room, but they're probably doing something else. They're not just staring at cameras. But it is a deterrence and a way for them to help solve crimes much more expeditiously.
I know from the parks perspective that it's not just about the money part, it's about the amount of time that parks employees are spending having to clean up, the graffiti, when they could be actually doing things that are doing more to beautify the parks. There's a lot of energy put into that, and I know you guys get really busy in summer, Robert, right? So.
Yeah.
Well, and some of you were around when I had my little rant about accountability and making sure that people are taking care of each other and taking care of the community we live in. And I think that one of the things that we did very successfully about 5 years ago was invest in our youth and getting our youth out there. And we had some amazing partnerships in our schools that allowed us to bring youth out and get them more engaged in a lot of the projects and stuff were happening. And it's starting to pick up a little bit again, but it kind of ebb and flows on your participation. In fact, thankfully, I just got an email from Javier from McNary, who works with the ROTC kids, and he said, hey, we're ready to start re-engaging in projects again. So there's a big piece of that when the youth see that, and I'm not saying youth are entirely culpable of it, but my guess is they're probably responsible for a fair amount of the damage that are done in the parks, particularly the tagging and stuff. But when you start to create that ownership, then it changes the mindset, and youth in particular start to change that. But there are people that choose to drink the alcohol in the portable toilets because that's just what they need for that particular moment, or they set it on fire. In those cases, how do you catch them? Well, maybe the cameras are the right thing, maybe not. The hard part is we have 3 staff full-time for parks?
On top of me, yeah.
On top of you, and then we have 1 code enforcement officer for the city of Keizer? Yeah. 4 people can't cover 249 acres and 19 parks, let alone all 11 exits out of the city.
Yeah, can I add a little
Please,
bit to the
go.
camera? I've been involved in the initial walk around and site prep, if you will, of where cameras would be placed. And it's not that cameras would be going in all of our parks, but they would be strategically placed at some parks, the ones we have the most issues at. One more thing is I've been pleasantly surprised with the quality of imagery that we can collect
Yeah.
at dark. In the pitch black dark, these cameras can make it look like it's light outside.
Right.
It's amazing. You can see what color they're wearing. And like Adam was saying, that information can go to the police and they can search their data for person in red sweatshirt and pull up every camera recording of anybody in a red sweatshirt in the last 3 hours on any of the cameras in the entire city. So it's a pretty cool system that they're looking at, with them strategically placed. So it's not like we're just recording everywhere. It's our problem areas.
So, Mr. Brown, have we also talked about putting some dummy cameras up too, in addition to the live ones?
Not something you want to say on the camera, but yeah.
Don't answer that.
But if you know some are real and some are not, then that one could be effective. Yeah. Yeah, my parents lived in a retirement community and they had dummy cameras but they didn't have real cameras. So if you have a mix, then you don't know which one's real and which one's not.
So I think that might help with our cost effectiveness if we have some that
Leverage.
maybe they have a light that flashes every 5 seconds or something, and maybe that's all that it does, versus the other one that is flashing and actually recording. So,
Well, you and I also know single-handedly that even when you got adults around, kids are gonna act like knotheads, like jumping off of a school.
and
Right.
hurting themselves and then saying, I'm okay.
The one thing, and these goals 1 through, 7 here? 6, going from our PDF page here, 30, 31, well, I'm going backwards, but anyways, I am actually, are they in order by any particular reason, or is it just how they fell? Like, is 1.1 1.1 because it's like the most important thing, or is it just kind of how it fell in the thing?
Yeah, those aren't prioritized.
Great, because
point.
if that was the case, I would say we absolutely need to move the entirety of goal 4 up to number 1 with a big giant star and an asterisk, because my experience has been when your community's not engaged, none of these goals really matter a whole heck of a lot.
26.
Right? So I think, it's up to the board if we want to go one by one and talk through all these goals. I think that would be a lot of time.
So,
I would-
Mr. Chair, what I would recommend here is just take 3 or 4 minutes and just look through these, and then if there's something that we want to talk about, let's talk about it.
Okay.
Is that reasonable?
Yeah,
I mean, you're the chair, you're in charge.
it's helpful. I didn't fully understand exactly. I thought we were just kind of going to be doing a walkthrough with this, but if there's anything that particularly jumps out at somebody that they feel strongly about talking about right now, we could do one of 2 things. We can either take a quick 5-minute recess if you all want to spend a little time looking at it and come back, or if you just want to kind of look at it, and then we can just revisit this after our parks reports. It's up to you all. What do you think?
How about we study it and then discuss it next meeting, or is that too late? Because I don't know about you guys, but I ran through this, but I didn't study it,
Right.
Page by page. I've got it on my email quite a few times. We're all busy. I don't know, has anyone studied this thing front to back and understand all of it?
I spent some time with it, maybe an hour or so with it. Mostly what I did was specifically look through the different goals in the back. I think these are all mostly lofty goals, but you have to have a place to start, and most of these are going to get drilled down in more specificity as each goal gets approached as they're working. But they're a starting point, I think, is what each of these goals is intended to be, correct, Adam?
Right, and then each year we'll say, okay, we're gonna hit, these ones. We'll be scheduling these out over the
Okay.
5-year period.
So you're going to create a work plan out of these goals. Got it. Okay, well, that is helpful, and I think that feedback, Bob, to specifically answer your question, I think that we are limited on time in that we couldn't, next meeting would not get the information necessary, but because the survey closes on the 26th. Now, when is this going back to council? Or is there going to be like a dissemination and drill down of this information sometime in February, and it's going to go February, March?
That's a great question, Chair Lawyer. So one of the things that I've heard is that there are some people that want to take a look at this and make sure that it's passed before the budget cycle. And then there are other people that I've heard that said, what's the rush? This is a 5-year deal. Let's take a little bit more time and not worry about getting it done in the next few weeks. but spend another month or so, a couple months looking at it. So that would be some good input for us too.
Well, I guess the question that remains for me, and you guys can chime in on this if you want, our individual responses are due by the 26th. As a board, if there are particular issues that we want to take up as a board, maybe we could talk about those in February, but is that going to be too late?
I made one promise to a counselor that we just got the Spanish version up live yesterday. So I said, I'm gonna bump it out at least a month from
Okay.
when we get the Spanish version out. So,
Okay.
so at the beginning of February, maybe not, I don't know if that would be too late. If we could get it in, and heck, if it's just, another month, February,
Dawn, when's our meeting in February?
It's
Is
okay.
it the 13th? It's the 13th, right?
Yes.
Okay, you get to chair that, by the way, I'll be in DC.
Cool.
So you get to deal with this nightmare in February.
So let's not put this off.
I think we absolutely should.
Let's
well,
tackle it right now.
It's up to the board. I mean, what do you all think? Do you want to work towards your individual responses by the end of the month? And then if there's any particular issues we want to discuss as a board, talk about it in February? Where are we at? Let's chat.
So are we looking at this and how it pertains to parks specifically? Or are we just, okay, well, I mean,
I think it's
that's
both.
not a weird question.
I think it's both. I mean, I think individually we respond how we want to respond
Right.
on the survey. But as a board, if there's anything in these goals that we feel very strongly about, I certainly think we need to, like 2.4, you'd probably love, develop a plan to connect parks, trails, and neighborhoods, right?
We've been having that conversation for a really long time.
We've been having that conversation, we've had it on the planning commission. I mean, there's actually a legit plan that exists. There's been one since 1986 that connects all of the parks through Claggett Creek, some big, long boardwalk thing that's been around since anyways, yeah, long time.
Yeah, no, but even with community growth, I'd like
Right.
there to be, since we have a growing community and we have these housing density, we need more dog parks. We need more dog-friendly areas than just one in one park.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's something that needs, I mean, it should be addressed,
Okay.
but I don't know how.
Well, that specifically might be in our master plan,
Yeah,
but as a goal in terms of livability, maybe.
right.
Bob?
My recommendation would be that we go over it, I guess, when's our next meeting, the 13th? We
12th,
probably
yeah.
should discuss it or
Okay.
review it again by the end of the month.
13th, yeah.
I would look at it along with the master plan, because I think that there's work already in there that's done.
That's a great point.
We don't want to bring, as an idea here, and then we're like, it's already in the master plan. We don't need to have that conversation, so.
Yeah, and we're not the only committee that's gonna be going over this.
No.
Everyone's reviewing this, so.
Like, if I'm being totally honest with you, I looked at this 100% from the planning commission side because I knew I was going to see it tomorrow night. I literally didn't spend much time looking at it from the parks lens.
Right. And if there's something that we want to address that's not in our master plan, then we can amend our master plan? Or can we not?
We can have the conversation about the strategic plan, but I don't believe that
You can't amend, okay.
it's a pretty big
I
process,
don't know.
isn't it? You'd have more backing if it was in your strategic plan.
You could amend the master plan.
Okay,
It's doable.
right.
If-
It's just,
There's a process.
yeah.
Here, and if you do a master plan, I mean, that's not just as simple as we make a recommendation here. It actually has to go to the planning commission. It actually has to go to the city council. It becomes what they call doesn't it become a general reopener when yeah. So, I mean, it has the potential to maybe be a little tiny big deal, but it could be a big deal.
Right.
Right? But yes, I
I
mean,
mean,
certainly,
I ask questions sometimes not to, because I just genuinely don't know.
that's great. Glad you
That's why
asked.
we're all here.
It's not
Ask
like I'm
questions.
trying to stir up some trouble by asking pointed questions. No, I'm not that smart.
Look, I mean, I'm already 10 minutes over most of our last meetings at this point, so we're
Yes.
doing okay.
Okay.
It's a good conversation. Glenn, what are your thoughts?
I'm right along with you
Right
on
along with
that, yeah.
Mike?
I'm okay with waiting until next month if that's what we want to do. I mean, I'll be honest, my focus tends to be towards parks and public safety, so that's what my lens is going to be when I'm looking at things.
Okay. Tanya?
I'm down for waiting until next month.
Okay. What I will say is, let's do our homework on this. Let's spend the time, come back with notes and specificity. I think if there's specific questions that we can get answers in advance. Robert and Adam, is it okay to email you all? Okay, and then Councilor Kohler, you'd also be willing to take those. This is great. Actually, I think this is, when was the last time a strategic plan was done in Keizer? Like, it's been a minute.
Over 20 years.
Okay. These can be very productive tools. And so this is kind of the first time, I mean, the master plan for most of us was the first time the master plan had been opened up for parks in quite a long time. Take the time, please. Put the consideration into doing the homework on this. And Don, I will get you my comments specific to the board, and I'll send them to Robert as well before I take off for DC in February. But I think it's good. But please make sure you get in, do your individual responses. You know, maybe looking at this through a parks lens is helpful, but globally, look at that survey, do your responses. You can go to keizer.org, as Mr. Brown stated, in the top left-hand corner, just under the city logo, you'll see strategic plan. You can click on that, and it will take you to the link. And for those of 5 of you that are watching this online, here's the QR code. Zoom in, scan on your cell phone. Did you get it? Anybody? Nope? Okay, great.
You should have tried it.
I'm gonna try when I get home. I'm not even
Just
lying.
tried it on that screen right there.
All right. Councilor Kohler, how do you feel about that idea?
I think that's what we ought to, do. Do the individual and then come back next month and we'll talk more in depth about anything that we have concerns about.
Great. Well, thank you for bringing this forward. I think it's super important. Appreciate the work the council and all the staff have done getting this thing ready to go. It's not easy trying to set a plan for 5 years. So, all right. Mr. Brown, anything in addition to add on this?
No, Chair, that's it.
Robert, what are your
Good job.
thoughts? You're being awfully quiet.
That's great. I've been involved in this behind the scenes, so I think that's a good approach.
So come to you with all the questions.
No.
Good to go. All right. Well, thank you all. All right, let's move on to new old business. We got parks reports, and we're kicking off with Tanya.
Yes.
Ryan J. Hill and Willamette Manor.
I went to Ryan J. Hill, and it looked good. Everything's cleaned up. No trashes were emptied. Everything looked great. I did not have a chance to get to Willamette Manor. However, I did go to Katie's Parks. Can I give those updates?
Yeah,
Would you
please.
like that? I walked on Hidden Creek today. It looks fantastic with that clearage alongside Hidden Creek. Water was flowing. I could hear the water flowing and I could see it, which is really a new experience with that area being cleared out. And then I trekked through Northridge from the stairs all the way across, and it's really squishy, but everything else looked beautiful. So nice work.
Great. Thank you. Gwen, Clyde Creek and Clear Lake.
Clyde Creek is also very soggy, so I know better than to walk through it. So it looks really great, except for the sign still not there. But Robert is working on getting it painted, and I believe getting it plexiglass on it, and maybe moving it out to the street side instead of in the park. So maybe it won't get hit again. And Clear Lake, I drove around for an hour and a half looking for it, so I kind of know that whole area of Keizer now. And I guess I found it, but I didn't really realize it was there because there is no sign. And everybody told me it's next to the school. I ran into a guy and asked him, do you know where that's at? And he said, oh, it's next to the school. So next time I'll be able to look, give a better report on that.
Yeah.
But I can tell you all about the neighborhood, and that guy's name was Bob.
The unofficial dog park of the Meadows.
Yeah, he said all his friends go there with their dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's it.
Very good. Lisa, Palmacia and Sunset.
Okay, can I give an update on
David's Wallace House,
Yeah.
and Tanya's Willamette Manor, since I go to all of those too.
Sure.
Okay. So.
We just need, can we just put in here from now on the Lisa report?
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
You're very
not.
thorough, I love it.
Well,
Right before Matt's minute.
I
No, no.
just go there with my little dogs.
Yeah,
You
that's
know?
the whole meeting.
So anyway, Palmacia, is beautiful. I mean, the river's rising, it's still not up over the thing. The one thing I will tell you is if you decide to walk down to the river, once you get past the gravel, on the lovely path that the Eagle Scouts did, that's a little bit leany now, and there's a few gullies in it. That mud looks like it's stable, but it's not. So if you're walking down there and you step off of the gravel onto the dirt, just be careful because it's slippery.
How many times did you fall?
I did not.
Oh, good.
Because I am smart enough to know that it is very slippery. There were a few slipping, but, so Palmacia looks really good. I like the wilder portion of it, down the path, down in the trees and the sticks and the, garbage and the ducks and the beavers and all of that. And then sunset's great. I mean, with the little windstorm and a little bit of rain we had the last couple of days, there's itty bitty little pieces of tree that have fallen down. But other than that, it's always so well cared for. I mean, every time I think I tell you how wonderful our parks employees are. I love them. They're just amazing people and they do such a good job. And I will tell you that with the wind, with all the rain, if we could have somebody who wants to make garbage can holders like that one special one in Keizer Rapids Park, that would be wonderful. And I think that everybody would be super happy. So those two parks are great. The walkway in Sunset isn't really gravelled. It is slippery. You can see that there was standing rain. So just be careful. Wallace House, again, looks lovely. There's a little bit of moss going on because it's been so warm and so wet, but it's a beautiful park that I haven't seen, the graffiti on the trees is slowly being washed away.
Did you find our pollinator garden?
No, because I was looking at the wrong end.
Oh.
I was looking at the north end of it and I couldn't find it and was feeling really bad.
You should go check it out and see what all the buzz is about.
Dad joke.
Sorry,
Yeah,
I should have done that
yeah.
later. I sprung that on you too early.
Wow. And then Willamette Manor is, there's still no sign because last time it got tagged, they went over the logo, so it's a whole big process to get it back. I mean, I feel so badly for the people who have to repaint those. And it's right on the street, so it doesn't really stop it for if it's on the street. So just a heads up. It's good to have the goals. And there's one little bit, and I don't know, on the side, the entry to 3rd Street, there's a sign there, and then there's new tagging on the fence right there. But I don't know if that fence, if that's really our part of the park. Because, yeah.
I don't know.
But it's
I'll look.
white. There was the red, then there was the white. This is white tagging again. And the part of where they put the plantings in on that hillside, somebody went in close to Christmas time and they broke up the caution tape and they went back and they didn't hurt the plants. They didn't do anything to the plants. And so I think that the West Keizer Neighborhood Association went in and they put the caution tape back up. So it's all nice and neat and the plants are looking great. And all of the playground equipment is fine. And the parks are mowed. And, they're squishy. They're very squishy. But other than that, it's all good. And,
Very thorough, as always.
and we don't know if we want to talk about Keizer Rapids.
I don't see my park on here.
Not yet.
You're
Every other
every
month.
other month.
Every other month?
Yes.
Oh, I got you.
Is there
So-
something you want to report?
No, I was gonna say something to Robert, which, yeah, they're all soaking wet. playing golf with McNary, it's fine. What's wrong with you people? There's a big old branch on Bob Newton that came off of a tree that someone's taped yellow around it, but it's probably too muddy to get out there and get it cleaned up. But that park looks awesome.
Well, you remember.
I didn't know it had horseshoe pits though.
I mean,
You did?
you remember when we were out there picking up the logs at it, Bob Newton, after the windstorm? I mean, we couldn't hardly walk in there without burying ourselves.
Oh yeah, we got a couple cords of wood out of there.
I mean, you probably can't
Cleaned
get
it up.
much equipment down there this time of year right now, Robert, right?
No, it's off way up by one of the houses,
Oh,
so
is
it's
it?
not really in the vicinity of where anyone would be, or should be, I guess I should say. But good to know. I didn't know that was every other month to chat
But-
about our parks.
That notwithstanding, if there's something and you're out and about, you're always welcome to bring it up in this space, or if it's on a non-report month, feel free to email Robert. And, I mean, most of us, if we see something, most of the time, we just email Robert anyways, and then we still talk about it here. Because usually by that point, he's come up with a resolution, but, yeah. All right, any additional items on that? Hearing none. Robert, what do you got for staff report?
Yeah, I got a few things. Thanks, Bob, for bringing that up. I do have that scheduled. I have some climbers scheduled to get out there and get that limb taken down safely. We actually scheduled some tree work in about 6 different parks coming up, various things, from being proactive on our tree maintenance to also some hazards that we've identified and need to get taken care of. So that's always a good thing to have done this time of year. We unfortunately did have quite a bit of graffiti take place this last month, especially over the Christmas break and into the new year. We had Claggett, Bob Newton, the skate park, and Willamette Manor were all tagged again quite viciously on a large scale. So unfortunately, yes, a couple of our park's entry signs were removed again to be repainted for the, I don't know how many time this year. It does take quite a while to get those back up and looking good. Ryan Hill Park, we had a area of concrete lift due to some tree roots was causing a trip hazard, so we were able to get that repaired this month. We removed all the concrete and had Salem Concrete come in and pour a new section for us, and looks good. So hopefully we've got that tree root removed. Hopefully that doesn't come back to haunt us. Ben Miller Park, everything's looking great there, but unfortunately over the holiday break, 2 vehicles on the same night accidentally drove into the park. Both were heading, I believe, south on Harcourt, and they didn't see the corner coming. The first one took out our boulders that we have there to protect the park, and the car still made it another 80 feet into the park, took out the picnic table, and was stuck out in the mud. And then another vehicle did the same thing, according to the police, and took out our barbecue, and kind of weird. None of which were near the playground. These took place in the dark, after hours. It's a very sharp 90-degree corner. So we're gonna put everything back and monitor that. If it continues to happen, then we'll have to install some type of reflectivity, I guess. Kind of weird. Never happened before, 2 in one night. Very strange, don't understand.
One night?
Yeah.
Holy smokes.
I don't know. I don't know the details behind it, so unfortunately I have nothing to go off of. I don't know if kids were just out screwing around or what, but kind of weird. Had some items taken
fairly
out.
dark though too, isn't it?
Very dark, yeah. So, anyways, and then I do have an update on the turf fields for Keizer Rapids Park. We have an estimated start date of March 1st for that project, so it's good to see that starting to take off soon. We have a meeting scheduled soon between the engineers, public works staff, and the contractor to discuss various items of that project. There is a long lead time to order the scoreboard, the lights, and the turf material. So the sooner we can get some things hashed out, the sooner the contractor can order some of those long lead materials. And then to complete the project, the additional items that were originally discussed in the project, we'll be researching some grant opportunities to finish the bathrooms, the storage building, and pave the parking lot. So hopefully those items can still be done soon. Won't know until we apply for some grants to see when those come Anything else I missed on that, Adam, that you're aware of?
You got everything from it. We're having some meetings with legislators too to see if we can get some appropriations.
Okay.
If you know of some people that want to have a logo on the field, we will be doing that.
So there's an active campaign for that right now?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep. So share them with us.
Is it a goal or an intent to try to secure all of that additional funding and get this all constructed before we open? The reason I asked that question is, this is intended to, from what I understand or recall, at one point we intended this to be a year-round facility. My concern is, if we get it built, open up for rec, then we stop for months and months and months and months because of construction. So is there an opportunity to try to, I mean, if the stars align, could it be where it's like, okay, we got the fields in, we got the money, and then we're gonna finish this and then open, or what does that look like? I mean, I guess it's all contingent on how much money you're able to secure for this, right?
Right, and from where it comes from. If it comes from the state, we might have sooner access to it. If it comes from the federal, then it may be longer to get to. But we have $700,000 or 600 and change left from between the city and county match. And we have about $600,000 worth of system development charges that we can use.
Okay.
So we've got 1.3 million there. The equipment building really has to be built with the parking lot. So, and the bathroom, we're gonna go after a state local government grant program for the bathroom piece of it. So right now the plan is to gravel it so it could be used, but the sooner we could get that out to bid, the better, because it's a very competitive bidding environment to our favor right now. We had
Yeah, interest rates are ridiculous right now, so construction companies are gonna start getting hungry,
I think we had 14 bids
right?
for the field. And most of those were pavement contractors. So they would be delighted to do.
What's the gap for full completion? So, I mean, is there?
About $1
dollar-
million.
I'm sorry?
About $1 million.
To do the whole thing?
Yeah. to
So
finish
pave the
off.
whole parking lot, get the food court thing set up, do the building, though it's $1 million in addition to the 1.3 you've got right now?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
And then the bathroom I'm not including the bathroom in that, but
Yeah.
the bathroom is not as important because we've got one there.
Yeah.
And if it was a larger event, we could always bring in porta potties, but.
Okay, and do you have rates? I mean, I know that we're diving into the weeds on this, but do you have rates for sponsorships? Have you set that? I mean, is there a one pager we can walk out if we know organizations that might be interested in this and say, this is what a sponsorship looks like and this is how much it's gonna cost you?
My frame of reference actually is with Commissioner Bethel. She, having experience doing several fields,
Okay.
said that those sponsorships were 10-year sponsorships
Right.
because that's the life of the field. And so it was, I believe she told me $25,000 for
Okay.
on the field sponsor.
Okay. And who's coordinating the campaign on this?
Myself and Counselor Starr.
Great. I have some ideas.
Thank you.
That's good news. March 1st is the start date, yeah? Right. Is there gonna be, and my guess is no, but I mean, historically with the Big Toy and with some of these other projects, we've had a volunteer effort on there. There's no volunteer effort on this one at all?
Not on this part of
Okay.
it, but we're open to using volunteer effort on the rest, the other part of it. You know, if we can find some contractors that are interested in doing some of the excavation and leveling, then we'd be happy to help trim down the cost of that through some volunteers.
Okay, cool. Well, glad it's moving forward. It's good to hear some positive momentum on that. Any additional items?
The only other update I'd have that's directly related to that is once that construction starts, the trail paved path on the east side of the Big Toy will be closed. So the one that runs east and west that connects over towards the Tate Avenue and Shamawa Road path.
The
Is
kind of
everybody
goes through the
following
dip.
me?
Yeah,
The path that leaves the Big Toy
Yep.
bathroom area and heads east, that path, only that path will be closed. Because the dirt that we are taking from the dig out for the fields is going to
Fill that.
go across that path and fill in the low area. So that we can now use the swale for events
Nice.
such as Keizer Fest.
nice.
So that'll be a big benefit to the park. Meanwhile, we have to move dirt across the path. We can't have dump trucks crossing a pedestrian area, so that'll be closed for a time. I don't know what the time is yet. Once we know the time frame, we will post that on the web, but also post it with signage and caution tape and all the things to keep people out of it. So hopefully keep people out of it. So that's all I had. Thank you, Chair.
Great. Counselor Kohler, anything to add for this evening?
Just a couple of things. I had an opportunity to spend a little bit of time in the Portland area the other day, and I got to view some of their beautiful graffiti everywhere. And I just wanted to put a little shout out to all the people that are helping to abate as much of that as we can, and the hard work that it takes our parks people and a lot of volunteers to keep that down to a dull roar compared to what it is in some other cities. So just a little shout out. Thank you. Keep up the good work, and we will win. We can succeed.
Great. Any other business?
Chair, wasn't planning on sharing this, but it's something I'm pretty excited about. We didn't really have a lot of media of our city facilities or around. So we worked with Lewis Media Group, and we got hundreds of photos of all our parks. And we now have panos of every park in the city up on, starting at our GIS page. And we're doing an upgrade of the website right now, so we'll find a little better way to integrate those. But just to give you an idea, these are the panos. This one's Meadows Park. And you can take a look at all the equipment up there. And let's see, this one is Bob Newton Park. Move around, see everything. And then the Big Toy here, but I think there's 18, 19 panos. So if you go into the GIS system and click on the information for that park and scroll down, you'll see a link to the pano shop. So
Once upon a time, I gave a bunch of drone footage to Debbie that I did at Keizer Rapids.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, and Jason does great work. He's done some awesome GIS stuff for us with the Watershed Council and other things like that. So that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. Check out keizer.maps.arcgis.com if you want to check that out. Pretty cool. Or just go to the keizer.org city website and look under GIS. It's actually pretty neat. So nothing else. No? All right, January 20th, if you're interested, Keizer First Citizen event coming up. It's always a lot of fun. Get to see some awards given to some remarkable people, and couple people sitting here. Mr. Shackelford's received a couple different awards there. Great guy there. That's all we got. I'll be reporting to the council on January 16th, and Lisa will be chairing this meeting in February.
Okay.
Just hope I'm not flying Alaska. Anything else for the good of the order? Hearing none, meeting is adjourned at 7:05. Have a good evening.